Did we start? Oh, hey. Okay. So, I'm going to review these with you real quick for a review on ancient civ and religion. This is my second time doing this because it won't airdrop from my phone. So, sorry if I am really short about it. What two subcategories fall under the Stone Age? If you wrote the Iron Age and the Bronze Age, you're wrong. Those come after. They do not fall under. Underneath the Stone Age would be the Neolithic and Paleolithic. Those we learned right at the beginning of the year. And that's what we created the map for. All of those things that were found from the Neolithic and Paleolithic age when people were only using stone tools. Once they started using bronze didn't work very well. They quickly moved on to iron. That was when things had developed considerably further. What human species did we evolve from? Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens are the species that we evolved from. We have a little bit of Neanderthal, and we have a little bit of Homo erectus, our DNA. Like, oh, look, see, like DNA. Otherwise, mostly Homo sapiens. Why did people begin to settle rather than maintaining the nomadic hunter-gatherer practices? Because if you plant things in the ground, you're going to wait until they come to fruition. You're not going to do all the work of planting it and then leave. That's just not, it's not going to work. It's not worth it. So people stopped their nomadic hunter-gatherer practices because they needed to stay to guard their plants and then reap all of the things that they had sown. Yep. What did agriculture allow people to do that enhanced the growth of what we now consider civilization? They were able to specialize. Through specialization, they could develop things like written language, or government, or tools, or, I don't know, things that did not involve searching for your own food every single day. What are the 5 river civilizations we consider to be the most advanced ancient civilizations that we know of? The Yellow River. My hand's really big right now. There we go, that's better. The Yellow River. The Indus Valley. It was the Ganges and the Indus. The Nile in Egypt. The Tigris and Euphrates in modern-day Iraq, Mesopotamia at the time. And we looked at the Amazon because I wanted us to remember that, you know, we don't know everything because we don't know much about the Amazon. Those are the 5 that we looked at, so be able to identify them for the test. Choose a river civilization, describe what life would have been like in the best detail. Pick a river civilization that you would like to, I don't know, that you know more about than the other ones. Pick one that you can describe, whether it be the way life was on the Yellow River, where the wheel was developed, where law originated, where all of those things. Are you done? See you later. Thank you. So be able to do that. Did any ancient civilizations trade with each other? For sure, the Mesopotamians and the people of the Indus Valley did, because we found their coins in each other's cities. Why is the Yellow River actually the color yellow? Because of the sediment in the river. Remember, the reason that people settled on rivers is because they constantly had sediment replenishing the soil, so they didn't have to use any special practices. So that is why they settled there. What is the caste system and how did it affect people in India? Caste system is social stratification, meaning separating people according to their social class. People are born into it and you die in it. You don't change. Maybe you could go down if you're a horrible person. But otherwise, the only way that it can change is through your reincarnation. So there are 4 castes. 4 castes. There's 1 extra. That would be the untouchables. They're not allowed in the caste system. So we have 4. We have Brahmin that are priests, and then we have some warriors, we have merchants, and we have laborers. It keeps people very separated in India, and because it's intertwined with religion, it just makes things even more challenging to separate. What are the differences between Hinduism and Buddhism? We listed the similarities before, but the differences would revolve around the concept of gods having any control over the way that your life ends up. In Hinduism, they believe in many. In Buddhism, they believe in none. They have combined, they both believe in reincarnation, karma, and dharma. Remember, if a religion is developing in a certain area, they have to adhere to some older practices in order to maintain the religion. Otherwise, people won't accept it. There has to be a little bit of old in the new. Other things to Hinduism and Buddhism. Hinduism stayed in India, whereas Buddhism moved on to China. That's a big thing. Anyone can be a Buddha in Hinduism. Not anyone can be a god. Gods already exist. Where did the Hebrew tribe originate? So I'm going to run through their whole path right now. They started in Mesopotamia in the city of Ur. Oh, there's my thumb. In Ur. I don't really need my hands for this. I don't know why I'm doing that. Started in Ur. They decided they would only believe in one God after Abraham made the covenant with God. So people made fun of them. They were ostracized. They left and went to Canaan, thinking that they would find fertile land that God had saved for them. The land was not fertile, so they wandered for 40 years trying to figure it out. Didn't work. Ended up in Egypt. Stayed in Egypt for a couple hundred years. Became a relatively united and powerful group within Egypt. Intimidated the Pharaoh to the point where he started persecuting them and restricting things that they could or could not do. And then he wanted to kill all their firstborn sons, and they were like, no, we gotta go. This is not working. Moses led them out of Egypt, through the Sinai Peninsula, back to Canaan. While he was in the Sinai, he stopped on Mount Sinai, got the 10 Commandments, and then they kept moving. When they got to Canaan, they settled. They stayed there until the Mesopotamian Empire got so big that it enveloped Canaan. The Mesopotamian Empire, which was seated in Babylon, was intimidated, obviously, by the presence of such a large united group. So they sent them all to Babylon, so they would live in Babylon as a minority instead of in Canaan as a majority. After that, a couple hundred years later, one of the leaders in Babylon felt really bad and was like, it's okay, you guys can go back. So they went back. And that kind of shows that the empire that was based in Babylon was getting weaker. So they went back. Eventually it switched from Babylon to Rome controlling Canaan, or what modern-day Jerusalem is. Once that happened, the Romans were also intimidated by how large and united that the Hebrews were, the Israelites. So they told them that they had to disperse throughout the Roman Empire, which was the first Jewish diaspora. Before the Jewish diaspora, Jesus was born in Jerusalem. Oh, no, in Bethlehem. Oh, what am I saying? Jesus was born in Bethlehem under the Roman Empire. Islam arose as a religion 700 years later, between 6 and 700 BCE. No, not BC, CE, Common Era, our era that we live in right now. So it's the newest of the three monotheistic Abrahamic religions. The two main, let's see, did I answer all of these? Yep, all right. The two main sects in Islam would be Shia and Sunni. Sunni follows the lineage of Abu Bakr, who was voted into being the next leader after Muhammad. Shia follows Ali, who was Muhammad's sister's husband. Sunni won in a battle against the Shia for trying to figure out whose decision was going to be the right decision. And they are now the dominant Muslim religion. They're more, if you meet someone who's Muslim, they're more likely to be Sunni than they are to be Shia. What is the oldest religion? It's in Mesopotamia. It is not Hinduism. That's the oldest religion still practiced, which is the next question. The oldest religion is in Mesopotamia. The oldest religion still practiced is Hinduism. Why did religion originate? Because people had questions about the way that the world worked and why they existed, and how, I don't know, how plants grew, and why the sun came up, and why the sun went down, and why it got cold, and why it got warm, and why they had kids, and all those questions. These worldly questions were answered by having not so worldly creatures represented in religions. It's done. All right. Why did religions originate? Were most ancient religions monotheistic or polytheistic? Now, most people who are religious today are monotheistic, but most ancient religions were polytheistic. Remember that the Hebrews were made fun of for believing in one God instead of many. And Mesopotamia had the oldest religion, and it was polytheistic. So most ancient religions believed in multiple gods, because the idea that one God could answer all of your questions just seemed absurd at the time. Just like, one human can't answer all your questions, neither can one God, according to them, in ancient religion. What was the covenant, the agreement that God and Abraham made, that Abraham's people would be the chosen people, and the Hebrew people, and they would only follow this one God. So they were like, we got you, we'll follow you. And he was like, all right, you follow me, I'll take care of you. Which he kind of did, but they weren't treated very well throughout history. So, I don't know. Why are the three most populated monotheistic religions called Abrahamic religions? Because they all believe that Abraham existed. They all have stories about Abraham, his wife Sarah, Isaac, and Ishmael. And that they all recognize the covenant that Abraham made with God. So, that's why all three are monotheistic religions that are most populated in the world right now are Abrahamic religions. We have three holy books that are present. We have the Torah, which is the Old Testament in the Bible, but the Torah obviously came first. Then we have the Bible, which is part of the Torah, and then also the New Testament, which includes Paul's letters, things like that happened surrounding Jesus and after Jesus. And then we have the Quran, which is a completely separate text that Muhammad got on a mountaintop from God. So the Quran has similar stories to the others, though. They also mention Abraham, but they spell it Ibrahim. So yeah, that was the review. I'm going to run through what is this? I'm going to run through the Kahoot really quick. Why am I not automatically signed in? Where are my Kahoots? Here we go. Alright, let me get through these really quick. And class is about to start. What human species did modern humans stem from? We already did that. Neolithic and Paleolithic age are under the Stone Age. The agricultural revolution changed migration patterns around the world because people stopped moving so much because they were planting things. Domestication is referring to animals being domesticated. Animals that live in your house or that listen to you are domesticated. You know one animal that cannot be domesticated? Zebras. That's why they're not used like horses. Fun fact. How did agriculture affect the development of civilization? People could specialize. People could specialize. Let me say one more minute. People could specialize. Okay. Currency or money, as we call it, only has value when it is connected to resources and services. Otherwise, your paper money has no value. After the agricultural revolution, what most propelled civilization to develop, that was the one where you had to choose one and agree with it, is it the discovery of metals, the creation of written language, the creation of religion, or the establishment of government? You figure that out and defend it, because that will be, for sure, a question. The existence of ziggurats tells us that Mesopotamian people were not barbaric. That is not the right answer. The right answer is that the Mesopotamian people thought that the gods could live among them, and that they worked with the gods to create harmony in the world. How often? Nope, we're not going to talk about the alligators. The Vedas are a sacred text in Hinduism, meaning they are the oldest sacred texts that are still used, which is kind of cool. We talked about the caste system. It came with the Aryans, so did the Vedas. The concept of karma and dharma exist in Buddhism and Hinduism. Anyone can be a Buddha as long as you achieve enlightenment, which not everyone can really achieve, but you can try through multiple reincarnations. The noble truths around the topic of suffering and how to not suffer in your life. How do you practice Buddhism? You follow the Eightfold Path, which is really hard to do, especially in a Kabbalist society. You don't worship Buddha's statues, you just follow the Eightfold Path. Ishmael and Isaac are sons of Abraham. Which son is representative of Judaism? Isaac is the representative of Judaism, and Ishmael is the representative of Islam. Ishmael was born first, but outside of marriage. Isaac was born second, but inside of marriage. Their legitimacy is contested. You can make those decisions yourself. What was the path of the Hebrew people? We talked about that. Why did does the Jewish religion include so much symbolism? Because after the diaspora, they had to symbolize things. They did not have everything accessible that represented their history and their past that they wanted to pass on to all their children so they can continue to be the chosen people of God. Christianity spread quickly for what reason? That's one of them. Everybody can be Christian, whereas you kind of had to be a part of the covenant to be Jewish. So if you wanted to believe in one God at the time where Christianity started and be one of his chosen people, Christianity might have been a better option. Also, Paul, after Jesus died, his name was Saul. Then he turned into Paul. He wrote all these letters to people. He traveled all over Rome and just spread the word of Christianity like an amazing press agent for someone who's not alive anymore. So those are the two reasons I would think are most important. Why are Islam, Christianity, and Judaism all called Abrahamic religions? Because they recognize Abraham and Isaac and Ishmael as people who existed and talked to God. Islam has how many pillars? It has 5. Let's see. Faith, fasting, prayer, pilgrimage, charity. All 5. Got them. What are the most populated religions in the world? Don't say Hinduism. Yes, India is big. It has many people, and it is Hindu. But Islam and Christianity are more common in more countries, spread all over the world. Like Christianity is really popular in Europe, North America, and South America. Islam is really popular in Northern Africa, the Middle East, and pushing further into Asia. All right. That's all of them. And the bell just rings, so hey, see you later.